Coach, obviously a roller coaster of a match. Wake jumps out to a 2-set lead, hitting nearly 500. You come back, win the next 2 sets, hitting nearly over 500 yourself. I mean, just kind of describe this match. This was a unique roller coaster match.
Well, we knew how talented they were, and we knew that they were going to come at us a lot of different ways. So we talked a lot about our defense and making sure that it started from the service line. We did put pressure on them. We had 12 aces. We also had 10 errors, and they were kind of some untimely ones. So I wasn't surprised at all. Randy and her staff do a fantastic job. So how the match ended is, as much as them earning it, if anything, they earned it. So we knew it was going to be a tough match.
The players mentioned how you guys changed the chant after the second set to grit, and they also been talking about these pillars that you've kind of been preaching. So what kind of went into kind of really emphasizing that grit mindset after that second set, and how big have these pillars been to your philosophy this season so far?
Yeah, those are our core values, and I think for us it's about who we are, especially this early in the season. While we prepare scouting reports, the sample sizes are so small when you're looking at a team and playing the numbers game a little bit. So teams are toying and maybe flip-flopping their positions and players, so it's hard to even look at a solid rotation and know exactly that number is reliable, right? So we focus so much on us and who we are, what our identity is. And I think, after those 2 sets, we realized that we kind of let that get away from us, and again, Wake Forest forced us into that. They put the pressure on us, and we kind of scrambled a little bit and looked a little lost and disorganized, and kind of went away from what we do and how we do things. Watching balls drop, that's not what we do. Not sure kind of who's taking and stepping in on that second ball if the setter's out. We normally are very organized with that, and just kind of got scrambled in the moment. So it was about refocusing on who we are, what we're about, what we stand for, and that is day in and day out of practice. We talk about being gritty, and we execute what grit looks like. And so I think they knew that. I made mention of, there's still 3 sets left to play, right? This doesn't have to end right now just because it feels like an off night for us. They're doing that. We push harder. We push back. And so I was really proud of how we responded. I said, let it sting a little bit. That's fine. Take it out tomorrow, and realize that we play our best when we're feisty, when we get after it. Not when we see what they throw at us, but when we assert our will.
How much, expand on that, when you go in there, you're down 2 sets, you got a quick time there. How much of it is you're addressing tactical stuff, but how much of it is more of a mindset of keeping them positive? Because you do have some youngsters on this roster that are learning on the job, on the fly. So how do you balance that, making some tactical adjustments versus, let's be positive here, we're fine, we're gonna turn this around?
Well, you heard it from our 2 athletes. More often than not, the coaches and the players are echoing the same thing quite often. So it's a balance of both. We'll, of course, we're here for something, right? So we do get them redirected into what play maybe we need to run, or let's think about it this way. But there's a lot of ownership in that locker room from every single player, and there's also a lot of leadership and veteran experience. So a lot of times I'm thinking you've probably already heard this from one another a lot, and oftentimes it is because I think they understand who they are, and they weren't happy with kind of where they let that slip. So it was a combination of both.
Talk to me about how they came out in that 3rd and 4th set, and what do you think was the biggest contrast that you saw from their play then as opposed to the first 2 sets?
Really getting out of their own way, because there were times that we executed in the 1st and 2nd set our game plan. It was just trusting that a little bit more, trusting themselves to, if it didn't go down the first time, transition your butt off and come back again. Where Wake Forest was doing that very, very well at a high level those first 2 sets. But we kind of settled into that a little bit, put the pressure on them, got them out of system, and then played some defense and transitioned. If it took 2 attempts, 3 attempts, there were some big rallies in there, and just staying patient with that and figuring out another way. Okay, you took me this way, now I'm going to try to score this way.
You told me earlier in the week you were looking forward to seeing how you would be challenged at the net. You get challenged at the net, you want to see how your team would respond to that. 3 matches through this tournament, how do you feel about your play at the net?
Yeah, we definitely need to sharpen up, I think, on our being pressed on our block. Sometimes we're high. We have some lengthy athletes. We have some physical and some athletic athletes, but players. But at the same time, it's about how much you're getting into their space and taking over. And we're not as solid as we need to be. We did a fantastic job, I think, last night, but we kind of retracted a little bit, and Wake Forest exposed that. So part of that's our eye sequencing and getting a good lineup. And kudos to Wake Forest for really testing us both line, both cross, taking some really good angles on us, and again exposing it, because we have to play defense around it. It's not just our block, it's kind of our whole system. So I think they tested us, and I think we identified plenty to work on.
Ava Armour came out with another impressive match, double-digit kills, picked up 4 service aces, including those 2 back-to-back to finish off the third set. I don't think we've ever asked about Ava's serve game, because Claudia has shown her ability to serve, but now we saw kind of a bit with Ava tonight. So what have you seen from Ava?
Yeah, learning to kind of, especially with the freshmen, learning kind of what makes it work. Do they need to just kind of talk them through it a little bit, or give them a pinpoint of where they need to hit? Sometimes for her, it's backing her off and saying, all right, I need a 60% serve. And she goes, I feel like I barely touched it, and then it still went out. So kind of learning them a little bit, but she's coming from such a high place, and really driving the back of that ball, and that ball just drops, because she's, again, even with a little bunny hop in her float serve, is still much higher contact point than most. So teams aren't used to seeing that, and it's pretty lethal. Our team acknowledged that.
Yeah, you did.
Last question.
You got a quick turnaround now. You got to play an Alabama State team that has high expectations themselves. They're
Yep.
going to be ready to go. They probably were watching.
Yeah.
How do you balance, correcting the errors from tonight, but at the same time, you got a short memory because you got another match you're coming up shortly.
Yeah, we often talk about being a goldfish, right? You gotta kind of let that go, but at the same time, don't let go of the sting, okay? Because that was such a great learning experience for us. We hadn't been in that scenario before. It's not going to probably be the last time we're in that same situation again. A mentor of mine once said, you got to get awfully close a lot of times before you truly understand how to work through that situation. You can't skip steps. You got to get there a lot. And so we have no problem, and the players said this as well, we have no problem getting tested, and we didn't quite figure it out. We figured out pieces, because there wouldn't have been a 5th set if we had just rolled over and died in sets 3 or 4. So we put ourselves in the position to end up, with the victory. Now we learn how to finish that next time around. But yeah, Alabama State's coached by an Olympian. They're going to be ready. They have a pretty savvy, couple setters in them, and some very athletic players that some dynamic jump servers that we're going to have to be ready for. So like you said, short-term memory to turn around and make sure that we learned from that experience, but then it's a different team, so we have to embrace that scouting report and still be UCF Volleyball.
Awesome. Well, best of luck, Coach.
Thank you.